and it fucked up.
Damn, I haven't used that intro in years. Hey everyone, and welcome to my second video of the year. I'm aiming for a little bit more consistency this time. Today I'll be talking about my game collection. If you couldn't tell, I really have a love for physical media. I've been collecting games since I was a kid, and I've amassed a pretty decent collection. So I'm not going to go game by game and talk about it because that'd be pretty monotonous and we'd be here all day. But I will go over some more interesting parts of the collection and things that I really care about, and just try and bring some attention to some random things I own, and maybe that can be a kick for a few minutes. We'll see. So roughly about a third of my collection consists of PS2 games. The PS2 is my favorite console of all time, and also the console that I grew up with as a kid. Years ago, when I was first getting into game collection, I wanted to make sure that I got all the PS2 games that I ever wanted to have as a kid. And I'm happy to say that I've done that. It wasn't all at once, it took a long time, but I'm really happy about that part of my collection in particular. Some of the games that I really sought after include Ben 10 Protector of Earth, which is a tie-in game to the Ben 10 series, which, again, if you were a person that grew up in the early 2000s, then Ben 10 was a big staple of your childhood. And Protector of Earth was a game that I rented a lot from Blockbuster. I never really owned it for myself, so this was one of the main things I had to get. It's not a great game. It's a very strong, maybe 5 or 6 out of 10, but just playing it brings back a lot of nostalgia, and I think it had a very nice cel-shaded look to it, which really captured that feeling of the show. The aliens you could transform into, it weren't that many, I think maybe 5, and you could use those guys on various missions and stuff, and that was cool. This game also surprisingly had co-op, which was also a treat. A bunch of PS2 games like these had co-op built in, and I always thought that was really cool. So Ben 10 Protector of Earth, again, not a great game, but a game that really means a lot to me, and a game that I feel like it's never gonna get remastered, but if it did, I'd cop it just cause. Another one is Spider-Man 2. Yeah. This is a legendary game, a lot of people have regarded this one as the best Spider-Man game ever made. I don't agree, it's a very good one, but I think, that title easily falls on Marvel Spider-Man PS4 at this point. But regardless, this game is still really good. I didn't play this as a kid, surprisingly. I only played Spider-Man 3 as a kid because that was basically brand new at the time for the movie. I didn't play Spider-Man 2 until a long time after that. I bought this copy, I believe, back in 2016 for only $5, which for a game like this, complete in box and everything, is pretty much a steal. The only downside, as you guys can see, is that my copy, the plastic looks like it's been fucking chewed on, so that definitely isn't good. I might actually end up buying another case for this and just swap them out. But yeah, in terms of gameplay, this is very fun. It has some of the best web swinging ever. The only downside this game has is that visually, I think it's a step down from Spider-Man 1. And you guys are probably saying, well, I don't see a fucking difference. It looks the same to me. But if you look at the textures of the costume in 1, they're a lot better than the ones in 2, and I will never know why that is. But yeah, Spider-Man 2, pretty good game. Our next one, we have Yu Yu Hakusho Dart Tournament, which is a game that isn't good. It's very generic, has some of the worst control schemes I think I've ever had to play for a fighting game. For instance, if you wanted to crouch in this game, you would have to hold down and press X in order to get into that stance, and that is some of the most counterintuitive bullshit I've ever fucking seen before. But if you guys are fans of Yu Yu Hakusho, then you would know that if you wanted to find a Yu Yu Hakusho video game, especially at that point in time, you had very slim pickings. Over here in America, the only Yu Yu Hakusho games we had access to were Spirit Detective for the Game Boy Advance, which isn't a good game by any means. We then had Tournament Tactics, which is just a copy of Final Fantasy Tactics pretty much, except with the Yu Yu Hakusho coat of paint. It's fine, but if you're not an RPG person, then there's no point in playing that. And then we got Yu Yu Hakusho Dart Tournament, which is their attempt, in quotations, their attempt at a fighting game. And it's all just really bare bones. Meanwhile, over there in Japan, they were just thriving with Yu Yu Hakusho game releases. At least on the PS2, they had Yu Yu Hakusho Forever, which I think is the best game of the bunch. And then they also had the Battle of Yu Yu Hakusho 120%. Weird title aside, that game is pretty cool. It's a copy of Virtua Fighter, but I mean, it's still pretty fun. It really sucks because like the chances of us ever getting a Yu Yu Hakusho game again over here especially is really slim. Unless we got like a remake of the show, which I don't particularly want, but unless something like that were to happen, then that would be the only way. Otherwise, yeah, like that would be non-existent. I'm gonna take a minute and talk to you guys about the holy grail of my childhood, and that was the Ultimate Ninja series of Naruto games for the PS2. Now, you can say what you want about Naruto these days, but back in the day, this shit was peak. And I'm really glad that I grew up in a period where these episodes were brand new and a bunch of these story arcs were just unfolding. A big part of my love for the series came from these PS2 games. I think these are some of the best anime games probably ever made. And yeah, you know, the Storm series came out after these and it's visually a lot better, clearly, because it's on stronger hardware, but these games will always hold a very special place in my heart. As soon as I grew up and had access to my own money, I made it this almost moral obligation to own the complete series. I had the first 4 games from when I was a kid. The only thing that I needed was Ultimate Ninja 5. But the interesting part about 5 is that it never got a US release. It only came out in Europe and Japan. And it's not even like this amazing game or whatever, but I just really wanted to complete this collection so bad. So I go on eBay and I found a copy of this bundled with Ultimate Ninja 4, and I bought those, and yeah. Here they are in the flesh. What I think is really interesting about these Japanese releases is that when you compare them over to the American ones, there's quite a few differences. Obviously, we have different box art. Over here, we have Naruto on the cover pretty much by himself, front and center, while over in Japan, this box art is more of an ensemble with pretty much the principal characters that you will be playing as in the game and the ones that are, I guess, relevant to the story at that point. But the part that I think is really fire is the game disc design for the Japanese release. This is so freaking cool, and I don't think my camera is doing it justice, but like this thing just has a really cool, almost like holographic kind of aesthetic to it, and it's just more visually interesting compared to the American art, which is just, I mean, what, like this is a flat image printed onto a disc. It's not bad, but when you compare them side by side like this, it's like, yeah, I don't know, like the Japanese one kind of got that sauce. You know, I probably could just emulate 90% of the games I own in this collection and play them just fine, but I really love physical media, and I love playing these games pretty much how they were intended to be. It's a cool novelty, and at times a very expensive one, but when you turn on your TV and plug in your console and play one of your childhood favorite games, just for a moment, everything feels right again. There is a magic to it that just can't be replicated with emulation, and I think that is why retro gaming to me is really special, because again, these games won't be here forever. We're not going to be here forever. So just like life, we cherish it while we have it.